Major breaking news this hour, and it's this. The Guardian is reporting this afternoon that Peter Mandelson failed his security vetting clearance, but the decision was overruled by the Foreign Office to ensure that he could take up his post to be the ambassador to the United States of America.
Let me ask you something. What would you do if your boss looked you straight in the eye and lied to your face? Not a little white lie, not a careful omission, a flat, provable, documented lie.
Change begins now.
You'd want them gone, wouldn't you? You'd want accountability. You'd want consequences. Well, today, right now, that is exactly what millions of British people are demanding of the man sitting in number 10 Downing Street. Because Keir Starmer has been caught. Not suspected, not accused, caught. And the evidence is sitting right there in black and white for the entire country to see.
Can the Prime Minister tell us, did the official security vetting he received mention Mandelson's ongoing relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein?
So clear. Prime Minister.
Yes, it did.
This is the man who stood on the steps of Downing Street in July 2024 and told this nation that things were going to be different. No more sleaze, no more scandal, no more powerful men bending the rules because they thought they were untouchable. He looked the British public in the eye and promised integrity. He promised transparency. He promised that under his watch, the truth would always come first. 18 months later, Peter Mandelson failed his security vetting, and Keir Starmer told Parliament otherwise.
Time and time again, Mandelson completely misrepresented the extent of his relationship with Epstein and lied throughout the process, including in response to the due diligence.
Before we continue, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Britain Daily. It's completely free and it helps us keep bringing you the hard-hitting stories that matter. Now, back to the chaos. Here is what we know. According to a bombshell report from The Guardian, Peter Mandelson, the man Starmer personally chose to represent Great Britain as ambassador to the United States of America, failed his developed vetting security check in late January of last year. This isn't a minor administrative hiccup.
I wasn't told that it failed security vetting when I was telling Parliament that due process had been followed is unforgivable. Not only was I not told, no minister was told. And I'm absolutely furious about that. What I intend to do is to go to Parliament on Monday to set out all the relevant facts in true transparency so Parliament has the full picture.
Developed vetting is the most rigorous security clearance process this country operates. It exists for one reason: to make absolutely certain that the people holding the most sensitive positions in British public life cannot be compromised, cannot be blackmailed, cannot be a security risk. Mandelson went through that process. He failed it. And then someone in the Foreign Office used a rarely enacted authority to override that failure and wave him through anyway. He didn't pass. He was overruled. There is a catastrophic difference between those two things. And Keir Starmer stood at the dispatch box of the House of Commons and told MPs 3 times that full due process had been followed. 3 times. Now cast your mind back to PMQs just days ago. Stephen Flynn of the SNP stood up in that chamber armed with a letter from the House of Lords Appointments Commission confirming that as part of their vetting process, they provide confidential advice to the Prime Minister on the propriety of nominees before appointments are made. Flynn asked Starmer to release that advice. And what did the Prime Minister do? He pivoted. He deflected. He started talking about the SNP's own problems in Scotland. The man who built his entire career on the rule of law ran away from a question about a letter. Think about what this means for ordinary people. Think about what this means for you. Because this isn't some abstract Westminster bubble story about process and procedure. This is about a government that promised to be different, that promised to clean up British politics, that lectured this country about ethics and integrity and following the rules, and is now caught dead to rights, covering up the fact that their hand-picked ambassador to Washington failed the most serious security test this country has.
Leader of the Opposition, Keir
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The whole House will be disgusted by the latest revelations about Jeffrey Epstein. All of us want to see his victims get justice. But the political decision to appoint Epstein's close associate, Peter Mandelson, as Britain's ambassador to Washington goes to the very heart of this Prime Minister's judgment. When he made that appointment, was he aware that Mandelson had continued his friendship even after Epstein's conviction for child prostitution?
Simple question. Mr. Speaker, let me start where I must with the victims of Epstein, and all of our thoughts are with them. Can I also say our thoughts are with all those who lost jobs, savings and livelihoods in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crash. To learn that there was a cabinet minister leaking sensitive information at the height of the response to the 2008 crash is beyond infuriating. And I am as angry as the public and any member of this House. Mandelson betrayed our country, our Parliament and my party. Mr. Speaker, he lied repeatedly to my team when asked about his relationship with Epstein before and during his tenure as ambassador. I regret appointing him. If I knew then what I know now, he would never have been anywhere near government. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, yesterday, the Cabinet Secretary, with my support, took the decision to refer material to the police. And there is now a criminal investigation. I've instructed my team to draft legislation to strip Mandelson of his title and wider legislation to remove disgraced peers. And this morning, I've agreed with His Majesty the King that Mandelson should be removed from the list of Privy Councillors on grounds that he's brought the reputation of the Privy Council into disrepute.
Mr. Speaker, I asked the Prime Minister a very specific question. Did he know that Mandelson had continued his friendship with Epstein after the conviction? He says if he knew then what he knows now, but he did know. In January 2024, a journalist from the Financial Times informed the Prime Minister that Mandelson had stayed in Epstein's house even after that conviction for child prostitution. So did the Prime Minister conveniently forget this fact, or did he decide it was a risk worth taking?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as the House would expect, we went through a process. There was a due diligence exercise, and then there was security vetting by the security services. What was not known was the sheer depth and extent of the relationship. He lied about that to everyone for years. And new information was published in September, showing the relationship was materially different to what we'd been led to believe. When the new information came to light, I sacked him. But we did go through a due diligence exercise. The points that are being put to me were dealt with within that exercise. In response to the humble address this afternoon, I intend to make sure that all of the material is published. Mr. Speaker, the only exemptions are national security, for prejudice national security. My first duty is obviously to keep this country safe. And when we drafted humble addresses, we always put an exemption for national security. But also anything will prejudice international relations. Mr. Speaker, you in the House will appreciate that in the course of discussions country to country, there are very sensitive issues of security, intelligence and trade which cannot be disclosed without compromising the relationship between the two countries or a third country. Mr. Speaker, so that I can be totally open with the House, I should also disclose that the Metropolitan Police have been in touch with my office this morning to raise issues about anything that would prejudice their investigations. We're in discussion with them about that, and I hope to be able to update the House, but I do think I should make that clear to the House at this point, because those discussions are ongoing.
I'm going to come to the humble address in a moment, but the Prime Minister cannot blame the process. He did know it was on Google. If the Conservative Research Department could find this information out, why couldn't Number 10? On the 10th of September, when we knew this, I asked him at that dispatch box, he gave Mandelson his full confidence at that dispatch box, not once, but twice. He only sacked him after pressure from us. I am asking the Prime Minister something very specific, not about the generalities of the full extent. Can the Prime Minister tell us, did the official security vetting he received mention Mandelson's ongoing relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein?
Prime Minister.
Yes, it did. As a result, various questions were put to him. I intend to disclose to this House all of them, the national security, prejudice to international relations on one side. I want to make sure this House sees the full documentation, so it will see for itself the extent to which time and time again Mandelson completely misrepresented the extent of his relationship with Epstein and lied throughout the process, including in response to the due diligence.
What does it say about our national security that a man who failed his vetting was sent to represent us in the most strategically important bilateral relationship Britain has? What does it say about our relationship with the United States, already under severe strain, that the person Starmer chose to manage that relationship couldn't pass a background check? And what does it say about our Prime Minister that when Parliament asked him direct questions about this process, he looked MPS in the eye and said full due process was followed? The ministerial code, signed off by Starmer himself in October 2025, is unambiguous. Ministers who knowingly mislead Parliament will be expected to offer their resignation. Those are not my words. That is the rule. That is the standard Keir Starmer set for himself and his government, and it is the standard by which he must now be judged. This is what finished Boris Johnson, not the parties themselves, the lies about the parties. The moment a Prime Minister is caught telling Parliament something that isn't true, something that can be proven not to be true, the constitutional ground shifts beneath their feet. Kemi Badenoch has already come out and said it plainly. The Prime Minister misled the House. A US Senator recently told Britain we were on the wrong side of history over Iran. Now our own leader of the opposition is telling the country their Prime Minister cannot be trusted to tell the truth in Parliament. And the questions keep multiplying. Who made the decision to override the vetting failure? Was it officials acting alone? And if so, why on earth would officials make a decision of that magnitude without referring it to the Foreign Secretary or the Prime Minister? Was David Lammy informed? Was Number 10 informed? Was Morgan McSweeney informed? The Cabinet Office is currently deciding whether to redact the information about the vetting failure entirely, to hide it from the public, to bury it. On whose instruction? The second tranche of Mandelson documents is expected imminently. WhatsApp messages, internal communications, the paper trail that will either exonerate Starmer completely or confirm what millions of British people already suspect, that this Prime Minister knew, that the people around him knew, and that they decided between them that the rules everyone else lives by simply did not apply to them. Keir Starmer promised this country a new politics. What he has delivered is the oldest story in Westminster. Powerful men protecting each other, hoping the truth never catches up with them. Today, it caught up.